Okay, guys, sorry. So we're just finishing up our notes for this bit. So whose opinion is introduced? Okay, so in this headline, they immediately present us with a person whose opinion is going to lead this article. Did you spot who it was? And I must confess, it's a little bit because it's a strange name. Actress Lake Bell. Now, this next bit was just to show how sometimes you can create that cohesion from a headline question into an answer. Okay, so women are introduced in that interrogative, and then they're referred to as adults. We've got the 12-year-old girls and then baby. So there's this immediate headline that creates this tension between women and adults, or adult women coming across like 12-year-old or babyish. Okay, so now after the headline comes this. From Valley Girls to the Kardashians, young women are often mocked for the way they talk. And Lake Bell, best known for her role in the 2009 movie It's Complicated, believes that young women everywhere have caught chronic sexy baby vocal virus. It's like a speech pattern that includes uptalking and fry. So it's this amalgamation of really unsavory sounds that many young women have adopted. It's a pandemic, in my opinion, the 34-year-old told NPR. The actress who wrote, directed, and stars in the upcoming film, In a World, says she's worried that women are hurting their careers by talking like little girls. Okay, so a few questions. In a minute, I'm going to ask you to pause and have a little look at these answers. So, what type of peg is being used in the opening sentence? Is it a reference to popular culture, high culture, a literary reference, or is it anecdotal? Also within that opening, which verb introduces how women are being treated because of their language or because of their use of language? How does this idea link to the experience of Katie Edwards? Now, she was one of the writers from last week's article. So remember, we're bridging from social diversity to gender. So there is a similar theme that's going to emerge. Okay. Also, cohesion. What's the connection between this paragraph and the headline? And can you list 3 things we learn about Lake Bell? And then down here in this blue section, semantic field there's a semantic field, being established that's linked to illness. So can you list 3 words that are part of this field? Also, it uses this lovely phrase, sexy baby vocal virus, which if I was having my time again and I was going to be in a cool girl band in the 1990s, possibly a mix of grunge, I would call my band Sexy Baby Vocal Virus, and we would be huge. Okay, and what is the potential consequence of speaking this way? So actually, a lot of these questions don't have a linguistic focus at this stage, but this is checking with an understanding of what's being established, the attitude and the ideas about gender and language use. Okay, so press pause and we'll go through the answers together shortly. Okay, so what type of peg is being used in the opening sentence? So it says, from Valley Girls to the Kardashians, young women are often mocked for the way they talk. So I was hoping, you might not be as familiar with Valley Girls, but Kardashians, I'm hoping that would have been your link. So that noun, that proper noun, Kardashians, is a link to the Kardashians, reality TV. So this text is using a peg, okay, that's from popular culture. And if you remember, a peg is a way in. It creates a connection between the ideas being explored, the linguistic ideas, and everyday life. And here we've got a popular culture reference. Anything that references the media, TV, music, we would talk about as popular culture. So the Valley Girls is another American kind of like reality TV show, guys, okay, not as famous here as Kardashians. Now, high culture, if it referenced Shakespeare, so if it said something, from Romeo and Juliet to Macbeth, yeah, young women often end up dead in tragedies. Yeah, if it had gone with that sort of start, we'd be looking at a high culture reference. So high culture really is references to the theatre, to the arts. Okay, literary references could be references to books and literature. And if you remember from Katie Edwards' article last week, anecdotal, very much first person experience being shared. So this is through the use of the proper nouns, Valley Girls and Kardashians, establishing a reference to popular culture. Now, it uses which verb in this opening? Yep, that's it. It's the verb mocked. Okay, so our verb is, you got it, mocked, okay? To ridicule, to mock, if we think about colloquially, to take the mick out of. So actually, we've got a similar attitude, but for different reasons. So we've got a group of people who mock, ridicule, and take the mick out of people because of the way they talk. Now, with social diversity and the experience of Katie Edwards, the reason was a social judgment being made, a judgment being made about somebody's social class and their background. Here we've got a judgment being made because of gender, that young women are being mocked for talking a particular way, they're being ridiculed and not taken seriously. Now, we can already anticipate what our counter argument, our rebuttal might be, because it's the same rebuttal that we would align ourselves with Katie Edwards. Actually, you cannot pressure people to change the way they speak because you don't like the sound of it. You don't like how it sounds. You can't be that aesthetically judgmental. And Katie Edwards, in the article we analysed last week, made a very strong case that actually it's the responsibility of people to change their attitudes, to question whether their prejudices come from, and undo those prejudices rather than expecting the other person to change. So we could argue whatever is about to unfold in this article, really we want to be saying to ourselves, is it really the responsibility of the women to change or the people that do the mocking? Okay, brilliant. Now it says down here, what's the connection between this opening paragraph and the headline? Okay, so we've got this reference to this actress, Lake Bell. Okay, that's cohesive. There's a direct link, a repetition of her name. Also, this idea of judging people or women being seen, it says here, mocked, and the other one being accused of sounding like babies and not talking in a very grown-up way. Okay, so let's have a look at this one. Lists 3 things we learn about Lake Bell then. So whose opinion are we being given? So we learn that Lake Bell is an actress. Okay, she was in a 2009 movie called It's Complicated. She believes women are catching a chronic sexy baby vocal virus voice. She is an actress, a director. She stars in an upcoming film, In a World. So there's lots of information we learn about Lake Bell, but does it make it credible? Now, we've got Dr. Katie Edwards, an academic, a professional. We had Chi Lu last week, who was a named writer, who was an expert in the area of linguistics and language to a degree. So what do we think? How can we evaluate that this opinion is coming from Lake Bell, an actress, a director, a star? Now, we could say experientially she might have personal experience in this field, but she is coming at it from a different angle. Now, it doesn't make her angle wrong, doesn't make her perspective and her opinion wrong, but it does mean we might need to remember that context, okay? We've got to appreciate in context that this is not a linguistic expert, okay, who's speaking here. This is the opinion of an actress, of a director, of a star, but not necessarily someone who is an expert. Okay, so what's our semantic field linked to illness? Can you find 3 words that are part of this field? If you remember from the headline, we've got pandemic. Now we've got that verb to catch. Okay. Didn't mean to do that. So we've got the verb to catch. We've got the repetition of pandemic again. We've also got this idea then that it's something that's chronic, like a chronic illness. I didn't know if you'd recognize that one. And virus. So we've got an extensive semantic field or semantic lexical set linked to illness. So in other words, if you're a girl and you speak this way, there's something ill in the way you speak. There's something wrong with you. Now, can you remember one of our theorists who also talk about language patterns as something that they can be caught or infected, that there is this wrong attitude that language is caught? Can you remember her name? Yeah, we're talking Aitchison. Now, Aitchison uses the metaphor of an infectious disease that impacts on the way people talk. Now, interestingly, her argument is that actually you can't really catch a language change. There has to be a moment of choice. Okay, so we can unpack or challenge the attitude of any of any language change being linked to illness, okay, of being caught, of being passed on, because the catching and the passing on has to be intentional. You have to want to speak a particular way. Okay, now at the end of this, the final consequence offered was the potential consequence of speaking this way. Okay, that she's worried that women are hurting their careers by talking like little girls. Okay, so that when women talk like little girls, when they use this up talk, this fry, these are the technical names for this way of talking, they are hurting their careers. Now, that's exactly the same consequence that Katie Edwards and Chi Lu were both challenging when they were looking at social diversity, that it is wrong to judge somebody based on the way they speak, and it is discrimination to hold it against them in terms of their career. Okay, so similar attitudes, but coming from a slightly different angle in this article. Okay, I grew up thinking a female voice and sound should sound sophisticated and sexy, a la Lauren Bacall or Anne Bancroft or Faye Dunaway, you know. Not a 12-year-old little girl that's submissive to the male species. I can't have people around me that speak that way, she admitted. Whether it's uptalk, pronouncing statements as if they were questions, or the incessant use of like as a conversational filler, vocal trends associated with young women are often seen as markers of immaturity or stupidity. But some believe women also change their voices, often subconsciously, to sound less threatening or domineering. Okay, so who is the I that's speaking? So in a minute you can just press pause and do that. Who's the I that's speaking? What's their response to women who speak a certain way? And what are the features of this speech, this type of speech that are being identified? Okay, also, can you pick out words that create a positive representation of female voice? Words that create a negative representation of female voice? And a suggested reason for changing the way women speak. So if you just have a minute, press pause, find those answers. We'll feed back together in a minute. Okay, so who's the I? Okay, we've got the continued opinion at this stage of Lake Bell. Now, she mentions Lauren Bacall, Anne Bancroft, Faye Dunaway. Now, these were the actresses probably of her generation. And we can take it down to also do number one, words that create a positive representation, because she talks about sounding sophisticated and sexy. So these adjective choices, sophisticated and sexy, are being used here to give a positive representation that women can have a female voice that is positive, sophisticated and sexy. Now, what's their response to women that speak a certain way? So she says, not a 12-year-old little girl that's submissive to the male species. I can't have people around me that speak that way, she admitted. So actually, this is a woman that's showing a discriminatory attitude. She's saying, I wouldn't maybe have people around me. Now, we know she's a director and actress. That implies she might not employ people. She might not cast people that speak a particular way. Now, guys, as annoying as vocal fry might sound, when you hear it in a couple of lessons' time, you might agree with me. Actually, it would be wrong to judge somebody fully for the way they speak. Okay, now what are the features of this speech? So this is important actually that we do write this down, that we start to highlight these features, because we are talking about a person's use of language at a phonological level. Okay, so the speech, the accent, and it is a very new way of talking about female speech called vocal fry. Okay, so it talks about uptalk, pronouncing statements as if they were questions, that women use like as a conversational filler. Okay, and vocal fry. So those are three features of speech that women use. But look at these negative word choices, that these are seen as marks of immaturity or stupidity. So look at the words that are creating a negative representation of women's speech. Markers of immaturity, stupidity, and a little bit earlier she talks about being submissive and like a 12-year-old girl. So you've got this type of talk being really negatively represented versus the old idea of sounding sophisticated and sexy. But actually, both of those really are about objectification of women. Sexy versus submissive. Yeah? So I might have a problem with both of them. Now, a suggested reason for changing the way women speak, they use this little conjunction, but, okay? But some believe women also change their voices, often subconsciously. So interesting adverbial choice there. In other words, not on purpose, to sound less threatening or domineering. So in other words, the 12-year-old submissive face that a girl might put on could be to sound less threatening or domineering. But there's definitely this sense then that the adaptation of how we speak is designed to change the way we're seen or perceived by others. Okay. Now, this last little bit of the article, I hear women do it on the street when they're talking to a man they want to quickly placate. Now, I'm just conscious that actually looking at the time, and I know I can only do 15 minutes, we're not going to quite make it to the end. So actually, I'm going to pause. I could just read the end of the article to you, and we'll come back with these questions at the start of tomorrow, okay? I hear women do it on the street when they're talking to a man they want to quickly placate, wrote Huffington Post blogger Kate Fridkiss. I heard one of my college roommates use it every night on the phone with her boyfriend. Girls and women slip into it so naturally and then out of it again on a daily basis. Carmen Ford, a professor of linguistics at Pitzer College in Claremont, California, told the New York Times, if women do something like uptalk or vocal fry, it's immediately interpreted as insecure, emotional, or even stupid. The truth is this. Young women take linguistic features and use them as power tools for building relationships. So guys, we'll unpack that ending tomorrow. Okay, bye.